Happy Wednesday, people.
Happy Wednesday.
Welcome to the new Kris and Gina relationship show. Today, I'll play the role of Kris.
And I am playing Gina.
And for our male viewers, Gina B has about how many more days before you are off the market?
About 9, maybe?
Fellas, don't worry. I'll replace her by then, and we'll get a really cute single person. Just joking. We could never get
You
rid
are
of you.
so funny.
First off, happy National Coffee Ice Cream Day.
Oh, is it? I don't like coffee ice cream.
All right.
Do we need a date for that?
No, we don't. Let's cross that
Okay.
out. It's
What else is
also National Read a Book Day.
Okay, I like that.
Nobody reads anymore,
People should read.
but they don't. Not books.
It's detrimental.
They
to
read, but not
people.
books.
You know, they read shit on like things that they shouldn't read, and no one can tell good content from bad content.
True. Bad content kills your brain cells.
Yeah, but nobody knows the difference. That's why everybody's stupid.
There's plenty of that
And they get
out
all
there.
of their news from TikTok.
Again,
I don't like it.
I've seen a TikTok video or two.
Or 17,000.
You're
I
gonna,
watch TikTok videos, but I watch the educational content.
You're right.
I do.
You're gonna like this last day.
What is it?
It's Global Talent Acquisition Day.
I saw that. That's like, those are the people I work with, talent acquisition
That
specialists.
is your field.
Yeah.
Today's show is narcissism and relationships.
Yes.
Um,
I'm so excited about our guest.
yeah, I am too. By the way, it's also National, I know you don't have any, but some people need to hear this, National Childhood Obesity Awareness Month. Don't want to talk about anybody's fat kids, but they're important too.
But if you have a child who is bursting out of their clothing,
fat kids need love
it's
too.
their day. Okay. Love you
The
like
subject,
a fat kid
the
loves
subject
cake.
though. Let me be clear. And then we're gonna bring in our guest.
Right. Who?
Because I don't want to seem like I don't know anything before we bring her in. Narcissism, specifically people you may be dealing with in a relationship, and hopefully she'll give us a working definition.
Right.
So before she even comes in, I looked it up, people, because I'm thinking of a very.
Kris got a list.
I'm just thinking it was a very conceited, super conceited, is what I was thinking, and it says a person who thinks the world revolves around him or herself, right? And they typically don't take other people's feelings into account. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what I got so far.
And so that's okay. So people, I think, take those attributes,
Right.
and they think, somebody could just have those things and just be an asshole, right?
Correct,
Like
true.
you don't need to be a narcissist. So there's a lot of fake claims of narcissism flying around, but we have an expert who is going to clarify what it really
What's what?
means.
And how it can positively or negatively affect you, or how it could be negatively affecting you. So our guest today, because Gina B and I, admittedly, we're experts in a lot of things, but this is not one of them.
Yeah.
From Healthy Minds, Dr. Erica Montgomery. Let's have a nice virtual round of applause.
Yay!
Hello, doctor.
Hello. Thank you for having me on the show.
We are so happy to have you. I'm
I
excited.
am as well, and I can tell our audience, listen, she is, Gina B told me, married to a man who is a great man, who's part of one of the greatest bonds, a noble fraternity ever, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So a big yo to your husband before we even start the show.
It's all about the yo, isn't it?
It is all about the yo.
Okay.
So first, tell us a little bit about yourself before we pepper you with questions.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm a clinical psychologist. I have been practicing in mental health for 25 years. I am also a master mindset coach. That's kind of my specialty. And
What was that?
a master mindset coach.
Okay, I got you.
And tell us
So-
what that means.
Okay, so I'm in the business of helping people change their mindset, switch their mindset so that they can live more abundant. They can live happier with a healthier mental state.
She's a preacher too.
Yep. And I do. I preach a lot. Change takes repetition, right? Repetition builds retention. I'm also an author of a book called Mindset Hacks that actually teaches you how to shift your mindset.
Oh, cool.
And I also do a podcast called Master Your Mind with Dr. Erica.
Now, I'm going to ask you this a couple times as our thank you, since we're not paying you much to be here. Let folks know now where they can look you up, and then I'll ask again later in the show. And if you think of something else you want to mention, please do.
Okay,
before we even get started.
Okay, well, anyone can connect with me. My website is healthyminds.expert, healthyminds.expert, and my motto is mental health is human health. So if you're a human being, then you will need some support at some point along your journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
So,
all right, let's get this party started.
Well, you heard my little definition of what I think narcissism is. I think, could you hear off?
Yes.
Was it sort of close? How would you?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think that, when we talk about personality disorders, we're talking about a consistent, chronic, pervasive pattern of behaving. Okay. So like Gina was saying, there are some people who have narcissistic tendencies, or they have some characteristics or some traits, but maybe it's not pervasive and consistent. So maybe it doesn't impact their work, just impacts their relationships. Or maybe it doesn't impact their work, but it impacts their social life.
I'm glad to hear that, because I was looking over these and I always try to apply myself to every. I can honestly say though that I think at some point in times, I've lacked empathy over here. So, I think I've had a tendency here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people have.
Right. So some of the qualities is, number one, this self-importance. They have a very high idea of themselves. Very, unrealistic, almost, what do we call it? Inflated, just feeling like they're more important, more valuable.
Now how does that differ than someone who's just, say, arrogant, conceited, or something like that?
Because it's a pervasive pattern.
Okay.
So it's how they show up every day, every time, to everyone. So a person who's conceited, they might just express that when they're meeting a person, and they're wanting to put their best foot forward.
Okay.
But then as you get to know them, you realize, they're confident, or they feel good about themselves, or they're good at what they do. Not that they feel like they're more important than, or their esteem for themselves is, I can't think of the word. I lost the word, but it's very, they have this inflated sense of self.
Okay.
They feel like they deserve special treatment because they're important. They're more important than everyone else. So they should be treated as such. They even expect to be recognized for accomplishments that might be just mundane. They expect to be treated special.
So they're deluded.
They're very deluded.
Okay.
Very, very inflated sense of self.
Is that a form of delusional?
Yeah.
Ask our expert. Deluded, yes.
I call half the world
deluded.
Like everybody.
Delusional.
I think most of America.
Not to be confused with diluted.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. I think most of America suffers from some form of delusion.
A delusion.
Probably.
So if
Okay.
what might happen? Let's hypothetically say I'm dating Gina B, right? Well, I'll be Frank and you're Sally. If I am the narcissistic one, how could that affect, like, what signs would she see from me? And if they differ from men and women, like we're dating and we get into a disagreement, what might she say and how might I respond?
Mm-hmm. Well, as long as you're in agreement with her, and as long as you're,
I'm not in agreement.
No, I mean, as long as she's in agreement with you. So you're saying you're the narcissist.
But she's saying maybe something I could be doing better. I don't know.
Okay. So
but I don't like it. How would I respond?
So criticism, typically a narcissist will get very angry, very defensive, and then begin to point the finger at the other person. They become very critical, demeaning. Sometimes it could be abusive, emotionally abusive, or physically abusive.
So
because
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
because the problem for them is accepting that it could be their issue.
Now, do they think that it's not true, or they just don't like
Absolutely.
it?
No, absolutely. They feel
believe
like
this.
you're offending them.
So this
Because
is not.
remember, they're here, they're superior, and you're below.
So, but they, in their heart of hearts, do they believe this, or do they know that? Hey, so
Absolutely.
if she said to me, "Hey, you leave the place. You leave our kitchen so sloppy all the time,"
Right.
and I really do. But if I were narcissistic, I might say, "What do you mean? You left the bathroom, and 3 weeks ago you did X, Y, and Z." I mean, do I? Like, I would just not.
They would pretty much gaslight, and they would say, "No, you were the one that did the cooking last night. You were the one. You're the housewife. How do you leave this? I got my job. I'm taking care of the bills. I'm doing all of this. You're not doing your job."
Wow.
So it's always going to go back on you. It will never. They have a very victim. If they feel attacked, or you give them some criticism, they will feel as if they're the victim, and then they'll gaslight you and make you think that it was you. So you can imagine a relationship with a narcissist.
You can't even tell them. You can't. I'm wondering how
You can't reason with
How do you get through to them?
You can't. You can't. It is a very toxic
This was a bad show
and
topic.
unhealthy relationship.
Nothing can be done.
This was a bad show topic. Sorry.
Nothing can be done.
What does this stem from? Is this
Is this a brain
were
injury?
they coddled too much as a baby? Were they dropped as a baby?
You
Did
know what?
everything
There are
trauma
different,
as a child. Where
right.
does this come from?
There are different theories on it, but what I would say it's a reflection of their inadequacy. So we reflect what we are and what we believe. So if he's always feeling, that he's got this or she's got this,
let's make it her now.
holier than thou, right? This super sense of self, this high importance that, I'm just so important that I deserve the accolades. I deserve the special treatment. I deserve, only my feelings matter. Only what I believe matters. And you come into a relationship with somebody who may not agree with that.
Okay.
Then it's going to be an issue.
So,
but that's what they're projecting. I really believe that it's because they feel inadequate. It's because they feel inadequate and less than that they project this heightened sense of self and self-importance, but it's because they feel inadequate and they make their partner feel inadequate.
Okay, so when you're in a relationship with, and I'd love we've had a very quiet audience today. Usually we have.
Oh yeah, by the way, if anybody out here who's watching,
have you ever been in a relationship with a narcissist?
or explain it to us,
Or are you one?
and we'd like to, digest it, or somebody, because sometimes it might be easier to see with someone else. You know what I'm saying?
Like I tease my fiance and tell him that he has narcissistic tendencies, which, he does not disagree with some of it. And
I
I'm
am
like,
not allowed to talk about my home life on air.
Okay. Well, I don't know that he's. Wait, is someone?
Is every conversation about another sign is every conversation becomes a conversation about them. So it may start with you telling your story or you telling your experience, and it always comes back to them.
Huh.
You know what's really funny?
That's tripped out.
Sometimes I'll tease him. And
Is he watching this show?
I don't know.
The wedding is next. Why don't you wait about 9 days?
Well, no, I mean, but the truth is the truth, right? So,
Trying to help you out.
You're like, I'm just trying to make sure you can go home.
Right.
But it'll be, I'll tell a story and then he'll insert himself and I'll say, honey.
Yeah, this wasn't about you.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
But does he receive that and say, "Oh, I'm sorry"? Because that's another thing with narcissists. They will never admit that they're wrong. And if they do apologize, it's some chance you get them to apologize, likely will not be sincere, because in the back of their mind, they're like, "Oh no."
I don't want the feminazi to come after me, but women stopped apologizing about 2004. I mean, I'm just,
Okay. See, Kris is all about this feminazi.
it's a real thing. Maybe some people just, like the doctor said, show tendencies. Men do too, though. I see it all the time. So I'm just joking, Genevieve, and feminazi.
No, he's not. He's
Well,
not joking.
there is a feminine energy, you know.
To
we're in the
narcissism?
age- No,
In general.
in general.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Just we're in the age of Aquarius, which is a very feminine energy, and we're moving away from all of this division and fear and hate, and we're moving into more feminine energy where people are starting to be more loving, starting to be more empathic, which is again a deficiency of a narcissist. They don't know the empathy. They cannot put themselves in another person's shoes.
You said something really interesting. Is it just me? Because I almost feel like, and I was jokingly talking about women, but I do see more women now via TikTok videos embracing their femininity and saying it's okay, ladies, to be this, that, and the other. Whereas in years past, it was like, let's do this and let's, this. It wasn't as feminine.
Mm-hmm.
I always jokingly say I have 3 daughters, and I always say that
Player's curse.
at least when it comes to men,
Yeah.
we aren't the brightest creatures. You see a lot of people die. Men aren't that smart. We don't always make the best decisions. You can, as a woman, if a man, you can almost get anything you want from him just as being really nice. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. It's nothing to do with this show.
Yeah, that energy is real. That sexual energy is pretty powerful.
Well, just being nice. My wife's great-grandmother passed away. She was 101. But anytime I would walk in, she would say, "Hey, good looking." And I would just be like, "Hey, Big Ma." I was just all happy. But it took just that. That's all it took.
Easy. You guys are easy.
Right. I just want to tell the world that, stop being mean. That's all you got to do. Anyway, back to this. Yeah. So you said let's talk about this apology. So what if let's go back to our example. I am the narcissistic man. She's a narcissistic woman. We're dating. And you expressed something I said that sort of hurt you. Right?
Yeah, right. Let's just say.
I would flip it. But are you saying, what if I do care about her? You're saying I just wouldn't say I'm sorry, or?
Well, the thing about, if we're really talking about a narcissistic personality disorder,
Right.
Because they lack empathy and that ability to really care and feel for someone else, they're not thinking about her feelings. You wouldn't be thinking about her feelings. You would be thinking about protecting your ego from the fact that she told you the kitchen was dirty. You would be thinking about how it's her problem and it's her issue, and it's not about you. So
you mentioned signs. Lack of empathy was one. I got some more questions. I know Gina does too.
Yeah, but go ahead.
What are some of the signs that a person who's in a relationship with someone who's showing narcissistic tendencies or is narcissistic might see?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the other ones is all I'm asking.
Right. So we're talking about, oftentimes you're going to get a lot of criticism. So if you do something wrong, they'll be quick to point out your fault. If they do something wrong and you point out their fault, they'll be quick to deny it or gaslight you and say, "Oh no, you're thinking about the situation wrong." And so in a relationship, if you're feeling attacked a lot of the times, if you're feeling like you're always wrong, if you're feeling like you could never be good enough, you're walking on eggshells because whatever you do, you're going to get criticism for it. If you feel like you can't give feedback on how you want that person to change, or even the idea that they need to change, is going to be a red flag. You often apologize. They never apologize.
So the lack of empathy, is it along the scale of, okay, so I know that psychopaths, let's just say, we can go all the way. I'm curious though, because one of the things to look for in a psychopath is they don't lack of contagious yawning, because that's a symbol of a lack of empathy.
What did you say that? They won't do what?
Like if I'm yawning, you may yawn.
But the psychopath won't yawn?
No, because that's a sign of empathy with the person that's yawning. Is that accurate, Erica?
How
I
about
don't know. It
Debbie,
sounds good. I don't know that.
No, that's one of the. I have a fascination with crime shows.
you
and-
are on
and-
this show
and-
because of
and
you have a
murder.
wealth of what I call useless knowledge.
I do. I have so much useless knowledge floating around in here. No, but seriously, like psychopaths are less likely to yawn contagiously because they lack empathy.
Yeah, because I almost hate when people yawn because it makes me yawn.
Because you have a lot of
Yeah,
empathy.
exactly.
And psychopaths don't do it. So if you yawn, like if Jeffrey Dahmer were sitting right here, he'd be like,
Sometimes I wish I had less empathy.
well, I'm just saying. So I'm thinking, how far on the spectrum are we with
Dr. Montgomery,
with
sometimes
narcissists?
if I watch a sad movie,
Do you cry, Chris?
a kid gets killed, my wife will say, oh, he's about to start crying. She'd be on the phone like, girl, he's about to... And I'm like, I'm not crying over it. I was watching Remember the Titans. I was just so sad when the guy he was playing high school football, and he was paralyzed.
I can't do animal death.
Who cares about an animal? I have animal non-empathy.
What do you mean?
I watch a lot of lions hunting video. Anyway.
I cannot. Anyway, we're totally off topic.
Yeah, totally off topic.
So here's the question. So if you, okay, so if a person's in a relationship with a narcissist, first of all, how does a narcissist get into a relationship without showing any empathy or caring for the person they're with? Are they just charming? Is that how they talk people into getting? Okay, so talk about the charm of a narcissist and what to look out for.
Remember this person believes that they are better than, that they are superior, that they are extra special and deserve that treatment. And they love the attention. They thrive off of the attention. So when you meet somebody and you put your best foot forward, you know, you're complimenting them, you're giving them the attention that they need, you're going along with the program, everything. It's like that honeymoon period. And so as long as you're in that honeymoon and you're giving them the attention and you're giving them the accolades and you're showing them the love and, you know, you're feeding their ego, if you will, then it's good. But as this person starts to show their true colors, and let's say something that you do disappoints them, or you say something that they perceive as critical, that's when you'll start to see the downward spiral, and they'll become defensive. They'll begin to attack you. They'll begin to gaslight. They may lie, because at the end of the day, they see you as a means to an end. So they're charming and they're kind until they get what they want.
So do narcissists, because I get that they feel that they probably feel like they haven't done anything to you. That's why they don't apologize. But in terms of, are they dishonest?
Yes. There is a tendency to
like,
lie.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a pattern of dishonesty, a pattern of gaslighting.
So we all know when we've lied, though. They know they're lying.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because they're manipulating you to get what they want from you, and they feel like they deserve it. They feel like they're entitled. Mm. So again, as long as you're tooting their horn, as long as you're giving them what they want, complimenting them, showering them, giving them the attention, you can maintain a pretty regular relationship.
But if that wanes,
if you're always, you know, giving in to what they want,
I'm trying to
giving into their demands.
So did they suck in bed? Like what are they good lovers or what?
I mean, I don't know. I guess that would depend on the man.
I'm trying to find relations. Are they cheating?
They may not be and think that they are.
Lie. Now I'm like, are they faithful? Because on one hand, they want the attention on themselves.
Right.
So I'm thinking they're just. But then if they lie, now I'm like, they can be honest or dishonest. I would think. I don't know.
They can be. Well, again, if it serves their interest, if it serves their, you know, them in a good way or in a way, then that they're going to do what they got to do. Because at the end of the day, they don't care how it impacts you. They only care about what they gain from it. You know.
So the big thing was, here's a question. Is it your perception that is Kanye West a narcissist? Because that was the whole thing. Like, oh, he's just a narcissist.
First off, he's not.
I don't think he's a narcissist. I think he might be like a bipolar.
He definitely is that.
Okay.
But he definitely cares about other things in people.
I'm just saying, people. This is why I say a lot of times I think narcissism is
and I don't know him personally to see,
If he were a true he might have tendencies, but if he were a true narcissist, remember most of the things we call him crazy about, or the world called him, he was defending what he felt were black folk or the disenfranchised. It wasn't about him.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
No, look, I'm not trying to go down that route.
No, I'm just saying.
He does have another characteristic is a preoccupation with like success and beauty and status. Because again, they're very elitist kind of mentality.
Right.
Like they feel like they're better.
Them, right?
Mm-hmm, right. So I think in that way, Kanye did seek out. That was validating.
He gave us College Dropout, so we're not going to talk about that. That was a great album.
I mean, he's a great artist. I always try to separate
him, by the way.
I try to separate the art
canceling
and
Kanye
the work
West.
and the music from the personal.
Okay. Like he's just going crazy over here.
I just can't believe you
go down that.
You just pulled Ye out of your.
Well, because people were saying, I'm just going through. People, like a lot of people, mislabel narcissism, and so I just want to make sure that we're all clear as to who was a narcissist and who was not. So, okay, now here's.
Okay, let me say this too.
Go ahead.
Narcissists don't have many friends. Because again, there comes a point where you're going to end up disagreeing. There's going to be a point where you don't get your way.
Now I know
where you're not going to be the center of attention.
Now I know a lot of people that I've known that might be narcissists.
Why they're socially not
successful.
Let's just say.
As long as they have the light on them. And as long as they're getting the accolades and they're getting that special treatment and they're feeling, better than, then it's all good. Mm-hmm. But how long can that last if you're really having a true friendship?
Right. Fair point. Okay, so now, is there anything that can be done about narcissism? And then, it's funny because we show you guys how the sausage is made a little bit. When we talked to Erica about the show originally, we talked about the topic, and what did you tell us about narcissists?
I said, in my clinical experience, I have not worked with many narcissists because they don't believe that they have a problem.
Yeah, right. And what's funny is
they wouldn't seek treatment because therapy is about wanting to change. Right. Therapy is acknowledging I'm not happy. I don't like certain aspects of who I am or what I've done or what I've experienced, and I want to be better.
What's funny is, as I was, sort of researching this, that's exactly one of the things I read. Like they're still doing studies on this because a lot of people, you may know it, but they aren't coming in for you to study them or talk to them because they don't think so.
They don't think I have any problem.
I've been looking up. And Gina B, you can see this. This is a little different than what I've heard because I've been looking up different sites.
Kris has always got a list.
Well, it's not even a list, but she said some things that I've literally sat here and typed. One of the things I wanted to ask about that I hadn't heard yet, it talks about narcissists may use a silent treatment to communicate that they are unhappy with you to control you as a form of punishment. Why wouldn't they lash out instead? I don't understand about...
Or is it both?
Because I always want to say something if I'm upset. I'm a man. I wouldn't even be happy giving somebody silent treatment.
You always want to say something anyway.
Right.
Like that's just who you are.
Let me say this: your attention is your power. So if I don't give you attention and I take my attention away from you, I just basically took my power. You're powerless. So I'm going to treat you as if you're insignificant. I'm going to ignore you.
Is that what they're doing?
Absolutely.
I've been ignored once or twice in my life. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got to look at my kids
they're
now.
Basically, like you're so insignificant and you are less than. I'm not even paying attention to you. I have nothing to say.
I wouldn't bother to flush you if you were in the toilet.
And it's manipulative because then the person feels like they have to beg for forgiveness. Oh, I'm so sorry.
So we have 20 minutes left. Well, before I introduce our sponsor of today's show, for those who just joined, we're with Dr. Erica Montgomery talking about narcissism and relationships. What is narcissism? And we were just going back and forth if you're in a relationship with one. if you like what you're hearing from Dr. Erica, she does other stuff. So this is a point, Dr. Montgomery, where you give yourself a quick plug before we go back to peppering you with questions.
Okay. Well, again, I'm Dr. Erica Montgomery. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist practicing for 25 years. My website is healthyminds.expert. I'm a master mindset coach. And I also have a community called the Soul Health and Wellness Club. And if you Google the Soul Health and Wellness Club, it's all about bringing people back to wholeness. People who are dealing with chronic stress, in really eliminating the chronic disease that is a result of the chronic stress. And so, I offer my services in coaching and therapy. I also do speaking engagements. You can, again, connect with me on healthyminds.expert so that you can learn more about me and what I do. You can also listen to my podcast, Master Your Mind with Dr. Erica. And so if you need support, connect with me.
She's there.
She's all that. And again, this show is sponsored by Devil's Sister. Find it in a liquor store near you. So, I know you don't have a bunch of people who come in but this is now I'm thinking, even though a narcissist wouldn't acknowledge being a narcissist, what if Gina B is a narcissist, we're dating, and I don't know how to deal with her, and I come to you. What would you tell me? Because ultimately,
run like hell.
Well, a lot of people are already in relationships. Whether I'm just going to go out. I'm going on a limb and say most humans have some narcissistic tendencies. How would one deal with it, or what would you suggest they do, or change their behavior, or modify their behavior just to get by, or whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, and it's true. I often work with the people who are in relationships with narcissists, and they can't get that person to come in because they're just flat out refusing. But the one thing that I drill into their head, because repetition builds retention, is that the only person that you can control and change is you.
You should be on this show.
So basically, get out.
So you can't control and change them. If you're waiting for them to change, you're going to be waiting.
Right.
It's up to you to decide, is this relationship healthy for you? And if you're feeling less than, if you're feeling belittled, if you're feeling criticized, if you're feeling not good enough, then maybe this is not your person.
Well, what happens if Gina B is giving me the silent treatment? I just give it right back.
Then you're going to have a lot of sexual tension.
I just get it right.
I know, right?
I just give it right back.
Well, wouldn't that be now, how frequently do two narcissists get together?
That probably wouldn't happen.
Like, that probably doesn't happen.
No.
It probably could, if, like she said, if two people meet and they're both really charming. I mean, it could start, right?
Yeah, they could. They could.
Think about it. They're both really charming. They both have a high.
That could happen.
Anything is possible.
True.
Yeah, I just, you know what? I have a lot of friends who've been involved with narcissists, or so they say, right? Like, so I don't know the clinical diagnosis of these people. I know at minimum they're assholes, right? At very minimum. And
wait a minute. Ooh, you say all the people you know are assholes?
No.
Why do you gotta be assholes?
No, you're not paying attention because you're looking at your phone. No, what I said was I have friends that have been involved with narcissists or people who either at minimum have tendencies or these people are at minimum are assholes, is my point.
Oh, okay.
And so, you gotta pay attention, Chris.
I was looking at notes, Genevieve.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
As always.
Uh-huh. So, anyway, usually those relationships don't end well. Like, I know a few people who are divorced as a result of being with narcissists.
I can see that.
And the person kind of ambles, the divorced narcissist usually seems to amble through other relationships until they get tired of their shit too. And just keep it moving. So are these people doomed to like be single because they're just never going to have any kind of healthy situation? Is that where we are? That's what you think?
I think that, again, if it's a personality disorder, this is a pervasive pattern of thinking, feeling, acting that is in your work, is showing up in your relationships, is showing up in your personal life, in your social life. And until you get to a point where you can reflect because that's what the narcissist doesn't do. They don't have, they can, but apparently they haven't learned how to reflect, how to really look in the mirror and gain some insight on how they behave and on how they act and how they treat people. And everything is external. They're seeking validity from other people. And so it's challenging because they would have to come to a point in their life that's so low,
right,
that they really say something's got to change, and that common denominator is me.
Maybe a brain injury or something.
You know,
because that seems to be, or you see people who get, I'm always leery of people who are like saved, because, but they'll say, I used to be
Don't be hating on
this.
the Lord. Not on this show, Gina B.
I don't know if this really has a lot to do with the Lord.
Don't be hating on the Lord.
Doesn't have anything to do with the Lord.
Not on this. Don't you blaspheme on this
I'm
show.
not blaspheming. You know who your host is. No,
but I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah. Like, there are people that maybe have had some sort of trauma. So basically,
or conversely,
yeah,
that's a good point. I'm joking these, but also, and this isn't even, I don't think, a narcissist conversation. I've heard really successful people, coaches, say that, like I've heard, I hate to sound, not
go
that I
ahead,
think
just go ahead.
the Obamas, the Oprahs, they always focus on, improving their weaknesses, getting the most out of people around them, et cetera, et cetera. I think those are good things. And as I look at my little life, I look at folks who say, people who are really successful who say stuff like that, I try to do. So I don't necessarily think you have to hit rock bottom. Maybe you want to be where someone else is who's not like you. That's all
I've just never seen an inspiring leader be a narcissist. Because
I've never seen that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying maybe they're just not cut out for that.
But,
I mean, it's just I don't think you'll see one. I've worked for people who I feel are narcissistic.
Me too, but they've never been like.
They don't really.
They've always been the
excel.
people that want to be there, but
right.
But the top of the top people that I've met in my life are the total opposite. They'll do the grimiest stuff. They're just
for the greater good,
exactly.
or to nurture their teams, and I don't really see a lot of that behavior with narcissists. So So basically, if you want to maybe change your narcissist significant other, give them some trauma, maybe a head injury. That might help.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
I'm worried about you.
That's funny.
Not kidding.
I just think.
But I mean, really. I mean, if trauma is the answer, maybe you can dole it out, right? So now, Erica, we talk a lot on this show just about healthy relationships and kind of what's required. And so, narcissism aside, and Kris and I debate about this a lot. Do you see like a primary problem with the people that you see with kind of modern relationships, particularly in the Black community?
Are you trying to get some help?
Well, you know what? I think
I see where you're going.
What I see is a lot of people have bought into this idea that a relationship is meant for that other person to make you happy or to fill a void that you feel you lack. And I think that causes a lot of problems because at the end of the day, you're the one who's responsible for your own happiness. You're the one that has to acknowledge and recognize that you're whole and complete as an individual. And the partner that you choose is only enhancing your life. This person is not making you whole. This person is not making you happy.
I agree.
Well,
they're contributing to it. But if you're a miserable person and you meet a great guy, you're not going to become a happy person because of this great guy. You've got to deal with why you're miserable and what that mindset is.
I think we both agree with that, right?
Yeah, I always have. Have I ever given you my cake analogy?
No, what?
I love analogies. So here's the cake analogy. Everyone's their own flavor of cake. Like some people are red velvet, but every cake has the same basic ingredients. You've got to have eggs, you got to have flour, you got to have sugar, you got to have milk, whatever makes you your whole formed cake.
Right.
Now, someone can be your frosting, but nobody can be your eggs. Have you ever tried to frost like a cake that's all fucked up?
That's a great analogy.
That is a great
See,
analogy.
you don't like to listen to my analogies.
It never happens. That rarely happens. But
what do you mean rarely happens?
But people need to be fixed already.
Right, well, if you've got like a lopsided cake,
right,
it's like destroy. You can't frost that.
And
frosting won't go evenly onto it.
So here's what happens. Usually, Gina B and I think 94% exactly alike. Every now and then we get a guest, and this is what I say the same thing you say, Doc. Let's say it's a woman. And they'll say, well, they can't, and they want to find Mr. Right. Not Mr. Right now, but Mr. Right. And we say, okay, what do you want? And they're quick to name all these attributes. And then I'll say, well, what do you think he wants? Oh, yeah, and they'll say, yeah, I make this, I do that. But they don't really. If he has to have more than what they have, I look at them funny. To me,
this is his way of saying.
I'm just saying. To your point,
when women are being very prescriptive about the things they want in a man, he's like, "Well, what's your program?"
Because that dude that they're describing, if he exists, he's not looking at them. And
well, he'll say women are fat and greedy, and that's the reason why they're not in relationships.
Well, you'll get somebody on here, and it'll be a lovely woman, and that's not even say overweight or any of that. We've had people who are drop dead gorgeous on the show, very successful, and they haven't found someone. It's just, and whatever we talk about, I am of the ilk that the problem usually lies in the mirror, man or woman. The problem usually lies in the mirror.
That's fair,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we get people on here saying, well, men out here ain't doing this. Women out here ain't doing this. I'm like, you're looking at the wrong people.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Or is you.
Yeah. That's like the parable. I don't know in what, chapter of the Bible, but it talked about how we're quick to recognize the spot in someone else's eye when we got a big plank in our eye. And so
I've had conversations with just man on man friends. And then, Kris, you did this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. And I'll listen, right? Because I'm the older me, I'll say one thing about them. And they go ape stuff.
We can say shit here.
And then I say, you know what? Let's not disagree. How about I treat you just like you treat me? Oh, what? I'm like, oh, you don't even want that. It's amazing. And I'm saying humans, period, I think are crazy. I don't know what it is. It could be the TikTok videos.
Well, I want to offer this. The law of attraction essentially states that whatever energy frequency you put out is the same energy frequency that you attract. So you have to pay attention to what you're attracting into your experience, because whatever you're attracting is a reflection of what you're putting out.
So would you say, let's hypothetically say I was single. I'm happily married, at least on my part. Can't speak for her. But let's say a single person, and they were trying to embrace that. Should they be cautious of not only putting out their good stuff?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Think about that.
And only nurturing the good
stuff, you might get your bad stuff back.
Right.
But how do you get rid of the bad stuff if you're paying attention to it? You got to focus on the good stuff.
I have a belief that I don't care if it's a relationship or work, you can't get better unless you know the bad and work on the bad. Everybody's good at their good stuff. Like if I'm telling a young kid how to get better at, basketball, and he can drive this right, I'm like, you got to learn how to use your left hand if you want to.
Right.
You got to learn how.
You got to be a utility player.
Well, you got to get better at what you're not good at. You got to develop.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't see it as bad stuff. Everything is neutral. It's the meaning that we give to it. So
I like that even better.
In his situation, maybe he wants to prove on that skill. Maybe he doesn't want to. It really is his choice. So you have to ask yourself, what do you want to improve on? Because as long as we're human, right? Because we're all sharing this human experience. We're all on this human journey. And we have to decide, what do I want to do better? How do I want to be better or feel better or have better or think better? And so that's what I'm going to work on. But that's an individual reflection.
Right.
That some people have and some people don't really have a lot of insight into that.
So, do you do a lot of couples counseling?
I do. I do couples counseling.
So, that was good stuff. So, what is the what do you see a lot of? I mean, like, what's sort of common out here? Because what I'm seeing in America, just on social media, whether it's politics, whether it's relationships, anyone who's believed in something, everyone acts like, even if shown something different, they like double down on whatever. Like, no, it used to be a time where, oh man, that's a good idea over there. I'll adopt that. Or that's a different way of thinking. We should do that. Now, no matter, and I'm guilty of it. I'm like, I didn't want to believe that, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, it's kind of making sense though.
Yeah.
But so what do you see people are unwilling to even look at things another way in terms of relationships? Absolutely.
And that's why I'm a master mindset coach, because I have to help them see things from a perspective that is going to serve them in a healthy way. So most times in relationships, they're complaining about what that other person is not doing for them, right? And so when you think about, again, where does your power lie? Your power lies within you, in what you think, how you feel, how you act, and what you choose. Mm-hmm. And so if something is not working about that other person, you've got to shift your mindset. You've got to shift the way that you're thinking and feeling. And then if you're in a good partnership, that person's going to be willing to shift as you shift. But they won't be shifting because you told them to shift. They'll be shifting because they make a choice to shift because they want to keep this relationship because they love you. So this idea that, you just need to accept me for how I am and I don't need to change. I don't believe that. Me neither. Because we're constantly evolving and growing and expanding.
Or you should be trying to.
You are regardless. We're always in motion. We're energy in motion. So we're always changing. And so you have to be open. What your point is that you have to be open to seeing things from a different perspective. And oftentimes that's your partner's perspective because you're only seeing it from yours.
Right.
And so when I shift the perspective and you're able to see how that person's feeling and why they're feeling it and why they're thinking it, and then you can adjust and say, okay, well, now that I understand that, I'm going to try this. You have to be open and willing to try new things and to change the way that you're seeing things, because it's often your perspective that is giving you what you're not happy about.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, I did a whole blog post about this, I think, during shutdown, about how people just really need to say maybe more frequently, right?
That's good.
I think,
I like that.
I don't know someone's perspective. Maybe I can learn something. Maybe I should listen. And then maybe they have a point. Because it's in the maybe where you have true insights.
Or at least, like you said, give it a
thought.
Some true thought.
Or you can just add to your own insights.
Or real thought, not like BS thought.
Real thought.
Because sometimes men are, admittedly, will pacify. Okay, let me think about that. And have no real
intent.
Don't do that. Right. But really embrace an idea. You know what I'm saying?
Well, also embrace that you don't know everything and that you're always learning.
Sorry, fellas. I'm just telling it off.
Exactly, Gina. That's it. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I only know who I am from my perspective. I don't know who I am from your perspective.
Exactly.
And so if you're saying, Erica, you're coming across kind of hard, or you're coming across as judgmental, I need to say, maybe there's some truth in that. Even though I don't think I am. Right. But maybe if she cares about me and she's saying, this is how I keep showing up, maybe I need to say, maybe there's some truth in that.
Yeah, so I'm a good, I'm big on maybe. And I'm also a big believer that every single person has something to teach you.
Absolutely.
Every single person. Now, it doesn't matter what they look like, what walk of life they're from. There is something you can learn from that person. So it's all about trying to figure out what that is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Real quick, I got one last question, and then you throw in one last plug before we leave.
Making a mess here.
I want to know, what do most people see you for? I mean, what couple comes in? What are 2 or 3 of the top common issues that they're having?
Well, most people, when they come to me, are just regular, normal people dealing with life changes. So whether it's a divorce or it's a marriage or it's a baby or a job change or, moving or a person passing. So it's some kind of change going on. And in relationships, they're either coming to me because number one, they're not compatible. So there's been some infidelity, or they might be dealing with some life changes. Maybe the person's lost a job, they've lost a loved one. There's a family that there's divorce and now they're creating a new family. So it's really could be a multiple, things, but a lot of it has to do with like not compatible and they're not getting their needs met. And so they're either going outside of the relationship or there's some abuse going on.
A lot of that going on.
It's an emotional abuse.
Do you see more? I felt like in the past, I've heard, we've had people on the show, professional people. I mean, you hear that. Do you see, is it mostly just men still? Because on the streets.
Stepping out.
On the streets. And I hear more women are seeking satisfaction elsewhere.
I mean, I've had both.
Interesting.
I've had both. So I don't think, again, I'd have to look at the genetic.
We're going to bring you back for something very salacious.
Yeah, my dad used to sing this song. The lyrics were, "You've been stepping out while someone else is stepping in."
True.
So maybe something to that. Well, I feel like, you know what I mean? People are cheating with other people. Who are they cheating with?
I always say that to people when they come in. That man was cheating on me. I'm like,
well, who is he cheating with?
Cheating with, let's see.
These days, though, you don't know, do you?
You don't know.
You do not.
You do not know.
I've heard a lot of bizarre stories lately.
Yeah.
Just letting you know. Anyway.
Thank you, Dr. Montgomery. Those are good tips. So in closing, people, if you suspect you're with a narcissistic person, just
get out. Just go.
Just get up out of there.
Just get on.
Or figure out a way to, like the doc said, deal with it. We got a couple.
We just.
Oh, we put your stuff.
We
up
put
there.
your stuff up.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
So that's where we
are you in Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And I do all telehealth.
Oh yeah, because I was thinking something like this.
It's all telehealth.
There we go. So no matter where you are, you can if you're in Alaska, if you are in Hawaii, you can connect with Dr. Erica Montgomery, and she will help you out.
And my last word is, if it doesn't feel good, it's not good.
Okay.
If it feels good,
I like it.
It's good.
I said that this morning when I was working out.
Okay. All right, Gina.
It felt better later. That's all.
Right after Gina B's wedding, she's gonna need some counseling. She's
right,
lost like
so
1 million pounds.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you're so beautiful, Gina.
Every time I come in, I'm like, you know what? You're not gonna make me look plump in this seat.
I have not lost 1 million.
I got some image problems. I may need to call you. Anyway.
Oh, he's fine.
Thank you, Kris.
Thank you very much. You've been awesome. Thank you for joining. For anybody listening, we do get questions after the show. People watch this after the show. Gina B and I will answer the question. If it's something that we don't know the answer to, we're going to refer you.
We're going to tag
Dr. Montgomery. So, thank you for joining us. We'll bring you back fairly soon if you enjoyed.
Thank you so much. Yes. I would love to come back.
Thank you, Louie, for tuning in.
All right,
Louie Green here.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Jake, thank you for manning the board.
Yes.
And we are out of here like last year. Kris and Gina.
Deuces.